Hello and welcome to the Daily Signal. Today we are not going to be exploring the Daily Signal or the Babylon Bee. We're going to be exploring my least favorite conservative political commentator, Dan Bongino. If you haven't heard of Dan Bongino, first of all, I'm jealous, take me with you. And secondly, he is just the absolute worst. He's not the most dangerous person. He's not the most radical person. He's just the worst. Bongino started off as a cop, which, already we're doing great, right? And then in 1999, he stopped being a cop so that he could be part of the Secret Service. He performed Secret Service-related duties for both Bush and Obama. Co-workers report that he was extremely self-aggrandizing and that he also ended up using his Secret Service experience to write 2 tell-all books and also launch 3 failed campaigns for political office. After failing to gain any kind of power in politics, he very sensibly pivoted towards talk radio. He replaced Rush Limbaugh on a few talk radio stations. They put his show in the slot where Rush used to be. He has a primetime Sunday news thing. I haven't watched that, but I do occasionally listen to his Just Awful podcast, which he somehow does every day. He has the most baffling takes of anyone I've ever listened to on the right. He is unlistenable to me. And I am somebody who enjoys listening to conservatives talk. So, without any further ado, let's see what Dan Bongino has to say about Cassidy Hutchinson's January 6th Commission testimony from yesterday.
Smoking. Like I told you, something's smoking. But it ain't a gun. Man, I want to get up on that smoking object. Don't get too close. Man, I like...
Looks like you've been smoking some stuff, buddy. You seem agitated. It's bad for your health, man.
Like the smoke coming off it. Here's their takeaway number 2 at Playbook. They're talking about this motorcade story. Allegedly, according to Cassidy Hutchinson, President Trump wanted to go to the Capitol in the SUVs. I'll talk about that in a second, too. That's important. And because the Secret Service did not have the manpower and didn't have it secured, they didn't want to take him there. So Cassidy Hutchinson's alleging that he said that I'm the effing president, take me to the Capitol now. I'll play her testimony here in a second. But
already we're getting off to a pretty rocky start here because in no way did the Secret Service decide to steer Trump away from the Capitol because they hadn't secured it enough. It was basically everybody who had a passing acquaintance with the law was screaming at Trump and all of his staffers, do not go to the Capitol. You will be charged with crimes.
Mr. Cipollone said something to the effect of, please make sure we don't go up to the Capitol, Cassidy. Keep in touch with me. We're going to get charged with every crime imaginable if we make that movement happen.
And do you remember which crimes Mr. Cipollone was concerned with?
In the days leading up to the 6th, we had conversations about potentially obstructing justice or defrauding the electoral count.
So it wasn't a matter of things being insecure. It was a matter of people not wanting Trump to go to jail. Anyway, let's continue.
But she's alleging also that she was told by Bobby Engel, who I know well, and Tony Ornato, who I know well, work with them in the New York field office, work with them repeatedly on the...
Something you'll notice about Bongino also is that he loves to name drop. Like, no one has ever loved name dropping more. He has made an entire career out of being an ex-Secret Service guy. He basically alleges that he just knows things other people don't. Anyway, if you want to do a drinking game, take a shot of whatever every time Bongino appeals to authority or mentions something that he knows. Here's the first one. Let's go.
President's detail. I know these guys very well. I've known them for decades. She's alleging that the President Trump, then grabbed the steering wheel of the SUV. Grabbed the steering wheel, Joe. So you'll take me to Capitol. I'll drive there myself. He carjacked the Secret Service. That's unbelievable. Yeah. Here's Cassidy Hutchinson relaying the story. She alleges she was told. Check this out.
So once the president had gotten into the vehicle with Bobby, he thought that they were going up to the Capitol. And when Bobby had relayed to him, we don't have the assets to do it. It's not secure. We're going back to the West Wing. The president had very strong a very angry response to that. Tony described him as being irate. The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Ornato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
And was Mr. Engel in the room as Mr. Ornato told you this story?
He was.
Now notice the "to the effect of" again. To the effect of. Effect of. Kind of like, I'm not really telling you the real story, but there's some effects laden in there.
That's in no way what that means. And if I was as bad at speaking as you, I wouldn't be throwing shade on people using weird catchphrases. I'm just saying.
She does the same thing here she did in the first story about the magnetometer. Takes what's likely a true story. I'm telling you, part of it is likely true, based on my experience and sources. The president was probably upset about the mag flow rate. But to take the mag flow rate complaint, which every president complains about, and to then posit that he wanted armed people to go to the Capitol is such a ridiculous, stupid leap that I'm stunned people like even George Conway, who's not that bright to begin with, would take this at face value. She does it again here. I'm telling you that the president did probably want to go to the Capitol. Okay, probably did. But to then take that story when you weren't there and to tell from that and to posit from that story that he physically attacked the Secret Service and someone told you that, I'm telling you based on various data points, the story can't possibly be true. Let's go through it piece by piece. Here's an article in The Complex.
This is such a lazy rhetorical trick that unfortunately works super well with a lot of people, not just conservatives, but definitely with conservatives as well, where you're just like, that's dumb, that's stupid, no one would believe that. Like, it's not really an argument, it's just like, that's obviously absurd, like, it's not worth considering. I don't know, it seems like maybe it's worth considering, Dan. Secondly, I just want to point out that Bongino seems upset that Hutchinson is using hearsay in her testimony. That's not enough for Mr. Bongino. But what is enough for Mr. Bongino, and presumably for you, the listener, is that he, knows a couple guys and, it would never happen. So don't trust Hutchinson, somebody who was in a position to learn stories that no one else could learn. Listen to this guy, because he used to work for the Secret Service a decade ago, so he knows everything. Anyway, let's carry on. It
says, Trump allegedly tried to grab steering wheel, lunge for agent's throat. It's so stupid.
He's doing it again!
Choking the Secret Service. Ah! They're going.
Can't see it,
so
dude.
Dumb.
No, I can't see it.
So stupid.
God, fucking Joe, man. I'm sorry. I'm excited to share Bongino with all of you because I had to listen to a lot of his stuff for research one time, and I seriously just almost gave up on life. He loves to call out Joe, his super good friend Joe. His role seems to mostly be to just be like, lol, yeah, you're right. Anyway, I don't know. I'm just annoyed because, once again, we have just, it's ridiculous. Don't even think about it too hard. Case fucking closed.
But if you know Bobby Engel, you know, how ridiculous his story. He was a SAC, special agent in charge of the president's detail. They cover another thing Hutchinson said per NBC News, that Tony Ornato, who is a Secret Service agent, who was the deputy chief of staff, right? Bobby Engel, you got to get all the positions here straight. Hutchinson is an aide to the chief of staff, Mark Meadows. Tony Ornato is a Secret Service agent who's the deputy chief of staff. Bobby Engel, Robert Engel, is the special agent in charge of the Presidential Protective Division. So now you understand who the players are. Bobby Engel would have been the closest to the president that day. Tony would have likely been in the White House in his office. So Cassidy Hutchinson says, Tony proceeded to tell me that when the president got in the beast, He was under the impression from Mr. Meadows that the off-the-record move into the Capitol was still possible and likely to happen, but that Bobby had more information. Okay, well, what's the problem with this story now? Okay, here is video, and I need you to watch this on Rumble, folks. I'm sorry, I know some of you listen, but I need you to go to Rumble and watch this very specifically. Rumble.com/Bongino. Here is
Rumble obviously, pays Bongino for this. Bongino's been kicked off of YouTube probably, but Rumble has a nice little package on him. So be sure to go to Rumble to watch this, folks.
video the day of January 6th after the president left the stage. And you'll notice what Cassidy Hutchinson says Tony called the beast. I'll address that in a second. What the media calls the limo, the beast, on only the media, right? You notice the president didn't leave in the limo, as the media would call it. He left in
Wait, so does the media call it the limo or the beast? Get your story straight. This is something you should know.
what the Secret Service calls the Camp David package, or what regular, I guess, average folks would call the SUVs. Look for yourself.
What's that?
Now, again, this is the kind of thing, if you're an agent,
Was he in there? Could you tell? Like, I'm asking, my vision isn't always good, but what I saw was an SUV pulling away and somebody was waving, but it was impossible to see who it was. Hello, it's me from the future, and it turns out that Trump was in that Secret Service vehicle. Other photos show a better picture. Bongino's video does not show it, but others do. So he grabbed a bad clip, but he was correct about Trump being in the SUV and not in the limo. Interestingly enough, the SUV story does make it more likely that the whole throat grabby thing happened, because in the limo it would be difficult, although not impossible, for that kind of maneuver to take place due to the configuration of the seats. But in the SUV, the seats are closer together, so the whole grabby thing could have happened a lot easier. Anyway, back to it.
you'll notice these little details. If you're not, you'll miss them. Those presidential seals, I have them right here in my office, right here. Seals from the last trip I did. I have the seals and the license plate from the car. They're magnetic seals. They come off the car, not painted on. They only go on the car the president is in. It doesn't matter if it's a Tesla, an SUV, or a limo. Those seals go on the car. There's a little carve out for them where they go. The president is in the SUVs. He's not in the limo.
Okay, I see. So that's an actual argument. I have no idea if that's true. I'll fact check it later.
What the media call the beast. The story can't possibly be true. Tony Ornato, who is the deputy chief of staff, who is a Secret Service agent. It's a strange arrangement, whether you agree with it or not. That's a topic for another day. But Tony's a good guy. Tony was an agent. He knows the Secret Service better than anyone. He was the SAC of the president's detail, special agent in charge, before Bobby Engel. Are you telling me that Tony Ornato told Cassidy Hutchinson that the president got in the wrong car? You see my point, fellas? He didn't get in the limo. He was in the Camp Davids.
Right.
That didn't happen. How else do I know that this story didn't happen? That Tony did not tell Cassidy Hutchinson that the president got in the beast? Because, folks, if you listen to my show on a regular basis, you know nobody in the Secret Service calls it the beast.
Drink!
Joe, how many times have we said this?
Oh.
It's like my bet noir. It's like my, right? Wouldn't you agree? It's like, it's probably, this story I've said so many times, it candidly probably annoys Joe, just like I used to reference the Black Swan all the time.
Not enough beads on the abacus. Yeah.
No, there's not enough beads on the abacus to count how many times we don't call it the beast.
Dan, we're all very impressed with your credentials. Cassidy Hutchinson isn't in the Secret Service. I think it's cool that you and your boys have your own little code words for whatever cars are going down, but it seems like the Beast is a known way to refer to the presidential vehicle, and it's possible that someone that isn't a total dork and is more worried about what happened in a car than what car it was might just be calling the Beast whatever vehicle Trump drove into. This isn't a fucking recording. This is some 24-year-old recounting something that she heard on the most chaotic day of her life. So, I don't know, man. I'm not going to shatter an entire theory because you have a nickname for the president's car that's different than her nickname for the president's car. But please do go off, King. Let's hear what else you've got.
Nobody calls it that. There is zero chance Tony Ornato mistook the vehicle the president got at number one and then called it something nobody calls it. That is a media thing. I got to take a break here because I'm getting.
Yeah, I got to take a break.
This is why mark where I am. I'm going to get crazy. Let me get to my second sponsor and explain to you how whenever the media mentions the beast and they say a Secret Service agent said it, I know they're lying. We don't talk like that. These are media people. The one with the Delta 6 fiber and the DevGru hit the beast and hit the Jackal 46. What are you talking about? Did you just read that in a book? Nobody talks like that. All right, today's show brought to you by...
Yeah, so literally kill me. So now that I've gotten that out of my system, let's talk about what this video means for us as a country. So what you're seeing here, and again, look, maybe you haven't heard of Bongino, but most conservatives have. His stuff is widely shared on Facebook. He has, as of 2020, his podcast was the 20th most listened to in America, which, like, is that number one? No, but 20 is pretty good. And he's got a show on Fox primetime. He's talk radio. He's one of the Rush Limbaugh replacements. So Bongino's a big deal and what he thinks matters. Did you notice that Bongino believes that Trump probably did want to go to the Capitol? He doesn't like this idea of Trump, like, fumbling for the Secret Service and, like, attacking him and trying to wrest the steering wheel away. He doesn't like that. Imagery is kind of gross and funny. But he does like the idea that Trump probably tried to go to the Capitol, which is something that I predicted would happen a couple days ago. Like, I mentioned this yesterday as well, and in yesterday's video, like, probably the greatest piece of propaganda to come out of January 6th, as far as, like, damaging Trump's reputation with his base, was this idea that Trump abandoned them and hung them out to dry. He was like, go to the Capitol, I'll go too, and then fucked off to, like, the West Wing. And now it's turning out that it's kind of looking like possibly Trump didn't want to fuck off to the West Wing. Possibly Trump wanted to go and be among his people while they stormed the fucking Capitol. Like, that's actually a great narrative for conservatives, and predictably, Bongino is embracing it. He's calling Hutchinson a liar in that, like, she heard this story that isn't true, and there was never any, like, fumbling weekly for the neck, and no resting of the steering wheel, but, like, the idea that Trump wanted to go to the Capitol is one that they like and that they're going to latch on to. And then they'll basically just use bullshit to discredit whatever else. So this is, of course, the problem with America right now. That you got a bunch of people who are real invested in believing whatever they want to believe, and they will grasp at absolute straws to do it. I don't know. I guess that's what we can look forward to, is a bunch of that didn't happen, and if it did, there's like a piece of truth in there that's what I want to be true, and then the rest of it's bullshit, because this is some really obscure rules lawyering stuff. Anyway, that's the end. The point of this video, I hate Dan Bongino, and conservatives are going to use the January 6th hearings to believe whatever they want to. So have a nice day. And remember, if you don't like something that somebody says, just laugh at it really, really hard until it goes away. It always works every single time.